Hey everybody, so not so long ago, I did a video called What Are Your Salary Expectations? Best Answer. And this proved to be the most popular video on my YouTube channel as of right now. And it's got something like 3 million views and about 3,000 comments, something like that. And I read every comment. It's not easy, but I read every comment. And while there are a lot of comments that I think are awesome, that are very complimentary, and it shows some people that are very intelligent and very prescient and they know what's going on, there's also a lot of comments that I kind of take exception to, not because they're very negative about me or something, but because I think that the people writing them, I guess I just fundamentally disagree with their worldview when it comes to interviewing and how to answer questions and how to answer this question in particular. So I wanted to do this video that responds to a lot of those comments, okay? And a lot of them repeat the same themes over and over again. So I wanted to respond to that. So, okay, the number one thing that a lot of people have said is the idea of, why don't you pay me what I'm worth? Okay? This concept of what I'm worth. And look, there's no right or wrong answers, I think, in hiring. It seems to be a very free-for-all kind of thing. But generally speaking, I formed some opinions of this stuff over the years. And I got to say, I don't agree with that concept. Okay, this is something that a lot of people repeat, and I think they repeat it without really understanding it. Know your worth. What does that mean? Well, okay, the most common thing that a lot of people are saying is, if they ask you how much money they should pay you, what are your salary expectations, you should know how much you're worth. And what that means for a lot of people is that you should be able to look up the market price for someone with your skills and abilities in your area. Okay, so you can do that with websites like Glassdoor and PayScale and things like that. Yes, I'm aware of that. However, there's a couple of problems with this. First of all, that's going to tell you what the average pay is. Okay, now, are you average? Just because they happen to generally pay people that much, does that mean automatically that's what you're worth? I say no, okay, for a variety of different reasons. First of all, assuming that the number is correct in the first place, are you worth that much? If you're perfectly average, maybe you could make an argument. But the other thing is that this entire concept of knowing what you're worth, I think, is silly. For a bunch of reasons. Think of Einstein, okay? Einstein worked as a patent clerk before he became a physics professor. This is quite well known. And, he was being paid a very small amount of money for working as a patent clerk. It was not a very good job. And so if you were to ask, well, how much is Einstein worth? Well, at that point, you can make a compelling case that he's only worth that small amount of money. He was making this much working as a patent clerk, and he later went on to make this much working as a physics professor and doing all those discoveries and things like that. So what is he worth, really? I mean, everybody watching this video, you could probably relate to this. If they gave you a job where you had to do something that you weren't particularly good at, you're probably not worth too much. But if they gave you a job where you had to do something that you're really good at it and you're really passionate about it, you're probably worth a hell of a lot more, right? So this question of, know your worth, I think is kind of silly. The other thing is that if you feel that you're worth this much, but then they give you a job where they pay you this much becomes what you're worth. You can't really argue with it. If they're paying you that much money and you're staying, that kind of suggests that's what you're worth, right? So there's many different perspectives on this, and it becomes too abstract and impractical and complicated to really apply this concept, okay? You're not worth a certain amount of money. Everybody has a lot of potential. Everybody has potential to do better than they are now, right? So I don't accept that concept or that argument when you're talking about how to answer, what are my salary expectations, okay? The amount of money you're worth can vary depending on circumstances. And the goal should be to change the circumstances so that you're worth a lot more. Okay. I feel, maybe arrogantly, I'm worth a lot more doing this YouTube channel than, say, I would be taking a job washing dishes in a restaurant. You know, they wouldn't pay me a lot of money to wash dishes in the restaurant. They wouldn't be paying me what I'm worth as a dishwasher, right? Okay, second point. You get to this element where I got to say, regardless of how much you're worth, okay, what does it matter what you're worth if they can get you for cheap? Okay, that's the other point of this question. If they ask you in a job interview, you know, what are your salary expectations, right? They're getting at this idea that it doesn't matter what you're worth, what can we get away with paying you? Okay, now, you know, if you have to either take a low-paying job or starve, it doesn't matter what you're worth. You're working for a pittance, you know, a very small amount of money, and that's the only thing that's relevant here. Okay, abstract concepts of what somebody is worth don't matter if you can get them for cheap. Okay, now think of it this way. Okay, when you go to the store and you know you see a product, I don't know. Let's say it's a I don't know, craft dinner or something. You know, some food product. Okay, now let's say the price of one box of craft dinner is $1. Okay, and you think, wow, that's really cheap. I mean, I know craft dinner. I like craft dinner. Craft dinner is a really awesome food. It's worth much more than $1. Okay. You know, this is something that even if I had $100 to buy food, I would still buy craft dinner because it's that good. Okay. Let's pretend this is how you felt. Now, when you go to buy food at the grocery store and you select the craft dinner, when you get to the checkout, do you say, you know, I know the price is $1, but I feel this is worth a lot more than $1. So I'll tell you what, I'll give you $10 for it. And then you pay $10. Do you do that? Of course you don't, right? You might feel I'm getting a great deal here. But this idea of like, well, I should pay someone for what they're worth, right? That doesn't really enter into it. At least the way a lot of organizations think, it doesn't enter into it. Okay? They're not treating people like people. They're treating people like resources. Okay? Human resources. You treat people like resources. Okay? So if you can get a really valuable person for cheap, they're not just going to automatically pay a lot of money for that person. They're going to get them for cheap. Okay? That's the way this works. Now, yes, I know we're dealing with people and not objects. So if you pay someone a measly amount of money, you can expect them to jump ship and leave as soon as a better job comes along. Yes, of course. And it makes sense to pay people more so that they don't want to leave, right? I agree with that. That's a thing. But I'm telling you how a lot of organizations think and how the recruiters are thinking when they ask this question in job interviews. Okay? They're thinking like the person at the grocery store buying the craft dinner. Okay? If they can get a valuable person for cheap, they're going to pay them cheaply. Okay? It's just that simple. Okay? Now, if you don't believe me on this, or some people don't believe me, look at how HR treats a lot of employees or a lot of people when they apply for a job. Okay? I rest my case. Another thing that came up in the comments for this one particular video that I thought was interesting, something that people keep bringing up again and again and again in the comments, was this, you know, the idea of negotiation. And one day I'd love to do a course on negotiation that people can take because I've taught it and I think it's great. But negotiation, the way it works is it's based off of two things. Okay. First of all, it's based off the idea that you only have control over yourself. Okay, you can't control the other person. So what they do, you have no control over that. You admit this to yourself at the very beginning, and then you can move forward. I only have control over what I'm going to do. Okay. So I can't control what situations come up, but I can control over what I'm going to do in every possible situation that arises. Okay. That's kind of how negotiation works. That's the first step. Okay. Then the second thing that negotiation is based on is forcing the other person's hand, forcing the other party's hand. So a lot of people bring up, how do I negotiate a raise with my boss? Okay. This is a common question that a lot of people have. Okay. I'm working in a job. I don't have any intention of leaving. I'm not looking for other jobs, but I just want a raise. So what do I say to my boss that will convince them to give me a raise? Now there's some stuff you can say, I suppose, that may play on their emotions and may make them want to give you more money. But the reality is that, if you're staying with the company and you're going to do the work regardless of whether they give you a raise or not, you don't have anything to negotiate with. You have no bargaining power, okay? You can't force their hand. Because if you say, I want a raise, they'll just say, no, sorry, get back to work, and that happens for a lot of people. Okay, so if you want to try and get somewhere, what negotiation says is you have to force their hand. Okay, you only have control over yourself, and they're not going to give you money for free. They're not just going to give you a raise when they don't have to. Okay, you have to force their hand. Now, if you threaten to leave, okay, that might be one way of forcing their hand. Now, any threat you make or anything that you say you might do, you have to be prepared to have your bluff called. Okay, this is why when let's say you wanted to buy a car and you're negotiating with the salesperson, right? And the car costs, I don't know, $50,000. Okay, it's an expensive car, and you say, well, I don't want to pay that much. Can you sell it to me for 40? And they say, let me see. No, I can't. Right? They say, no, the price is 50 because they know that you want the car. And if they hold fast, they hold firm to 50 and you really want the car, you'll end up having to pay 50. Okay. The only way you can really force their hand is to say, okay, you can't go any lower. Fair enough. I'll get it somewhere else. Goodbye. And then you walk out. Right. And then if you actually try this, you could do a social experiment where you try this. Walk into a car dealership, say you want to buy a car, dress up fancy so that they take you seriously, and see if they'll come down in price. And they won't come down, but if you say, okay, thank you very much, goodbye, after you've been negotiating with them a while, usually then they'll say, oh, wait. Maybe we can do this. Okay, I can come to maybe 45, something like that. That actually helps force their hand, right? You're forcing their hand. And that's the only thing that in a proper negotiation will get you results, okay? And you force their hand by you doing something because you only have control over yourself, okay? Remember, negotiation is not persuasion. Okay, so if you're in a salary type situation and you're serious about it, you want more money, okay? The way negotiation works is that you get other options, you get other job offers, and then you're prepared to walk. And then if they say, no, I don't agree to your request for more money, then you just walk. And then a lot of times, if you are valuable, they'll say, whoa, wait, okay. Come back, I'll give you your money, right? And that's the only way you can really get it. Anyway, I'd love to do a course on this and do it properly. I'm just sort of doing this off the top of my head here. But the third and final thing I want to talk about that came up in the comments for that video, what are your salary expectations? Best answer, okay, is something I've noticed a lot of people do, and I think this is human nature, is that when they don't understand something, they explain it away as baloney, right? They just say, no, it's just a bunch of baloney, right? I'm trying not to use expletives in my videos. I generally don't do that. I spent 8 years at the railroad and, another industry before that. And I really developed a potty mouth. And ever since I've been trying to undo that. But for example, in a job interview, there's a couple of things that a lot of people don't seem to understand. They don't seem to understand social skills, okay? And they explain it away as baloney. They say, that's just baloney, right? Another thing people don't seem to explain is the negotiation process. A very common comment on that video was people saying, why play games? Why not just say the amount of money that you want, and then if they can't meet it, they eliminate you? Oh, well, that's great, right? Well, no, you're not, you don't understand what's actually going on. They're trying to eliminate you right off the bat without getting to know you, without seeing your value. They're eliminating candidates purely on price, okay? What you want to do is you want to avoid that so that you can get to the stage where they actually start to look at you in depth, see your value, and now that they see how good you are, now they're actually prepared to pay more money, okay? So you want to get past the initial elimination round where they just try and say, how much money do you want? And if you say over a certain amount, they just eliminate you. You want to get past that, get to the part where they start falling in love with you and want you, and then they're prepared to pay more money, and that's when you ratchet up the price at the end. That's how you get hired and still make a decent salary, okay? But a lot of people, they don't understand this, so they just explain it away as saying, it's all baloney. It's all just mind games. I thought that was funny. And that like every third comment that people write basically says that. So I thought that was funny. Like, for example, I do not know how to dance ballet. Okay, you could probably believe me when I say that. But just because I don't have that skill, it doesn't mean that I don't regard it as a skill. It is a skill. Other people have it, and I respect that skill. I'm sure it takes many years of practice and patience to develop that skill. Okay, it is a thing. Just because I don't have it doesn't mean that it's all just baloney. So that's something that comes up. The other way this comes up is with the attitude. There's a lot of people that leave comments, and I hate to say it because I do understand people's frustration. When I was a lot younger, I was very frustrated at these kinds of job interview questions. However, there's a lot of people that they talk about the attitude. They clearly have a bad attitude. They say things like, I don't care about you or your company, just pay me a lot of money and I'll, do it. Or they'll say things like, all jobs suck. Nobody ever wants to do the work. It's a job. It's not going to be pleasant, by definition. And so as a result, just like everyone else, I hate the work. I'm not passionate about this work. I don't like dealing with you. I don't like doing this work, but I want you to hire me and I want you to pay me a lot of money. And it's like, well, it doesn't work that way. What they're looking for is a positive attitude. They're looking for someone that says, you know what? I actually enjoy this doing this type of work. That's why I do it. The work itself is actually really cool, and I'd love to be able to do this kind of work. And I feel I can do it well because I take pride in it. If they find a candidate like that, they want to hire them, generally speaking. And so if you start off with a very negative attitude, you're very adversarial, very confrontational, you're very pessimistic, you're very cynical, and then you wonder why you don't get hired. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, and unfortunately it's, no one's going to get warm fuzzies after being rejected for a job. So you have to fake it in the beginning, but you have to recognize that having a good attitude is half the reason they're talking to you. Some argue that that's the whole point of job interviews. They already know your qualifications from your resume. They want to see how you are as a person, how you are to interact with, how you would be to work with, how how you would be to communicate with. That's what they're looking for, you know? So it's funny how people leave such negative comments, but then seem to be very entitled that, oh, I demand that they should hire me. They should instantly see my value. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know you, but when you're that negative and that saying such nasty things about the interviewer and the process and everything, I think I might know why they're not hiring you, you know? So anyway, people just explain that away as baloney. They say, you know, the way you interact with people, that shouldn't matter. Well, you're right to a degree. It shouldn't, but it does. That's something that tends to come with time. People in their 20s tend to, some of them, I can speak this way because I certainly did. It takes a while for people to realize. It takes about a few years of things not going your way to finally realize that this stuff actually is important. Anyway, those are my reactions to a lot of the comments. I've gotten about literally 1,000 comments on that video lately, and these are some of the things that kept coming up over and over again. So I hope this video wasn't too rambling. You've gotten to the end of it, so congratulations. You managed to stand hearing me ramble for 21 minutes. Way to go. Not many people can do that, so you can do it, so you're awesome. That proves it. Thank you very much. I'll see you on the next one. Have yourselves a great week.